and I don't like spying on people. It feels like I have binoculars in your window when I'm looking you up.
That's as long as it's you, I don't care.
I've been having so much fun interviewing people, and it's
Is
been
this something
great.
new that you're doing, or is it you've been doing this for a while?
Well, I started interviewing at Harvey's Comedy Club in Portland, Oregon. They were like, "You really care about people. Why don't you interview the headliners coming through?"
Oh, okay.
So scared, and then it's just like talking to them at a coffee shop, you know? It's no
Right,
big
right.
deal. But yeah, so then I did like 29 or 39 of them in Portland and came here, and I thought, oh, nobody's going to ever let me interview people ever again like that. Then the
Oh,
pandemic hit and I started doing it.
yeah, yeah. It's fun, and yeah, I like it,
We are live, Carlo. You guys, welcome to Comic Spot. Oh my gosh. This is what the show was designed to do right here in that box over there. This is where I, an Army veteran, gets to vet out a veteran of comedy. Today we have somebody who is my personal hero in a lot of ways. You're going to find out. Tune in and sit down and watch the blinking lights because Carlo can bring it. He can bring it on stage. He can bring it in movies. You've seen him all over clubs. He's a touring national comedian. He's been in movies. He's acted along with De Niro, Pacino, Denzel Washington. You guys, we have a veteran here of so many different mediums. It's not even funny. Not even to mention, not even to mention that this guy has my heart because he has a show on Armed Forces Network. I'm a veteran. He brings a show where he interviews the best of all the entertainment in the world to the military and the veterans, 30 million viewers plus daily. And you got to catch his show because he's so sly. He's so easygoing. Sometimes he wears a hoodie. He's in the back. I learned so much about. Look at me. Look at me. I learned so much from his sly approach. He's just like, okay. And I learned skills from him. So let's open this guy up. Welcome to the stage, Carlo Bellario. Woo!
And Linda, thank you so much, and first and foremost, thank you for your service.
Thank you. Are you a military veteran?
No, I'm not. I wanted to. It just never manifested for me. But I I started doing radio in 2011. I started one show called The Wise Guy Show. If you see it on Facebook, I ran with that for. I was doing it out of my garage actually. When this is when back when streaming was new and everybody was using stick cam. I don't know if you remember stick cam years ago. It was like this brand new thing, and I did that for a few years, and then I parted ways with the other guys on the show. I said, you know what, you keep it. I created it. Me and my friend Johnny Salami, who's a character in himself. And I just said, you know what, I'm out of here. And I went and did. I took a couple years off, and then I did Animal House Radio, and it's bigger and better than them. So you know what, that's onward and upward, Linda.
Yes. Let's go way back to when you were 5 and you and I separately were both idolizing Abbott and Costello.
Oh, I that's where I got my love of comedy from watching them on Sunday mornings on Channel 11. Just the physical comedy alone that they did was so great, and they were. If you look at it now, they were so ahead of themselves as far as the writing and stuff. It was so brilliant for back then, and I just used to make me laugh. And then the Three Stooges, Marx Brothers. Never cared for W.C. Fields or Laurel and Hardy, believe it or not.
Oh, you don't?
Um, yeah. Um, but I'll tell you what, as I got older, believe it or not, my ultimate idol, and I'm actually very close friends with his brother on Facebook, but I was a big Sam Kinison fan. That was my
Really?
man. That was my man.
So
Sammy
tell
all the
me
way.
why. Tell me why.
Because Sam, And I knew this because I never met him. I never had the pleasure to meet him, but I knew this from just watching him. What you saw is what you got. He didn't pull no punches, and he was a rock star. And he told it like it was. But off stage, he would, he's seen people waiting outside to audition for a comedy club, new comics coming in. And what he did, he rented a food truck and put it outside because they were out there till all hours in the morning waiting. This is when you used to have to take a number to audition, and he would rent a food truck and make sure everybody ate and stuff. That's the kind of person Sam was. And I learned that from his brother Bill Kinnison, who's my friend on Facebook. Now there's somebody you need to interview. He has got stories. Funny story, real quick. When Sam used to get when he had too much to drink or whatever and he couldn't do interviews, his brother Bill used to do them and pretend it was him. He used to fake his voice.
Oh my
It was so yeah, yeah. But Bill's a great, and Bill's a pastor. He's a
God.
very
Oh my
spiritual
God.
guy, and he's very, and I got a real insight into Sam that I would have never have gotten otherwise. But I just
That's
liked his comedy. He was raw. He was a rock star.
yes.
So
It was
that's
bigger
what was
than
the
life.
allure. Yeah, yeah.
So you started watching, the greats, Abbott and Costello and on, and then it says on your page that I looked up, it said on the entertainment website, it said that the minute you could get a car, you drove to the city and started doing show mics and shows. How was it when you got the nerve to go up on stage? Did you have a lot of family and friends support, or were you out on a limb on your own? And how scared were you when you first went to the big city from New Jersey?
Not at all. I'll be honest with you. I was always a character. I was the guy at the party who was always busting balls and being funny and wearing the proverbial lampshade on your head and stuff like that. So when I was old enough to drive, I went, and a couple of friends of mine, I had no fear whatsoever. I didn't care if I bought, and I liked it. I got hooked instantly. And the first year I did comedy, I did 300 open mics,
Wow.
and
See, you
but I,
guys, take a lesson. Take a lesson. Don't be afraid of those mics.
well, and that's a double-edged sword, Linda. I'll tell you why, because they're not like they used to be. Years
Okay.
ago, you can go and my whole issue I'm disappointed. I love what I do, but I'm disappointed in the profession. It's changed in a lot of ways that I don't like. And things are going to change that are beyond your capability. Number one, with the open mics, years ago, if I was, say, in the 80s, I started in 1987 at the Boston Comedy Club. My first open mic, I was on stage with, and actually he wasn't a big star then, but Ray Romano was the headliner, and Mike Ivey, another comic, and I think Frankie Pace was my first. It was at the Boston Comedy Club, which was in Greenwich Village. And I used to go to all different clubs. But years ago, if you were a comic, a working comic, and you had a relationship with somebody in the club, and you said, "Hey, look, this is my buddy here. He wants to maybe get into comedy. You want to put, yeah, go ahead, put him up." Now, if you don't have a show on MTV or one of those reality shows, or you're not marketable, which I get, and me and Al Martin are very close. He owns Broadway Comedy Club and New York Comedy Club, and he understands what I mean. But if you're, I get marketing. They got to make money. But you know what? How do you know you're not passing up somebody that could be a potential? Is it really that big a deal to let them do 5 minutes? Or do you think your club's reputation is going to be that much ruined that much just by letting somebody get up there? So, and I caught the bug, but I will caution newcomers: don't get into doing a lot of mics. Do them, but then try to stage time, stage time, stage time. I'll always preach this. And you know me, I'm against what paying for. I
Bring it.
actually crashed your class that show that time. I don't believe in that you should have to pay. Um, but people take acting classes, but that's a whole different thing. They're not gonna. You can't teach somebody to be funny. Either you have it or you don't. There's techniques you can learn, presence, and well, you can't teach presence, but techniques and timing. Either you have it or you don't. You need likability. If they don't like you, they don't like you, and you need the stage presence. Then that's it, and the material. But you got to go stage time, stage time, stage time. but don't get caught up into doing open mics because then that's all you're going to wind up doing. And there's a lot of people that they go and do these open mics and they think it's real. It's not. It's not the same thing.
Wow.
But you got to know when to say, all right, now I think it's time for me to up my game.
Absolutely. At what point in a comedian's career do they know that they need to up their game?
That's I think it's different for every comic. Um, some people do it right away. Like I'll give you an example. My friend Paul Veneer is one of the funniest guys I've ever worked with. He's actually my co-host here, but because we can't all be together, we're all separated. But he was a musician, and he went right into he went right into headlining. There's very few people that'll do that. But if after a few 2 3 years, if you're still doing open mics, then you got to sit down and say, okay, what's going on here? If you're not getting picked up, if you're not getting booked and getting paid for it, and even though it may not be a lot of money, but I think any comic should, assess their self worth. Listen, and maybe give me $50 to do a spot. At least you're getting paid. So everybody's different. I think it's a case by case basis. You'll know. The comic should know.
Yeah. Yeah. You'll get a feeling and you'll know when you're ready for the next level.
Absolutely.
Well, I've been doing comedy 6.5 years. You started in 1977 or 87?
Oh,
Which one?
87. Yeah, yeah.
80.
I've
Wow.
been 10 years old in 87
Oh my
and
God.
77. I mean, yeah.
Right. And so the whole field has changed and it's a bit disillusioning. But then now we got COVID stopping everything.
Yeah.
And a lot of comics don't, that comedians who have weathered the storm for decades don't want to do this whole Zoom thing and be funny for a machine. They like doing it in real life. So where do you stand on that? Are you interested in doing Zoom shows or do you stay away?
For comedy, even though um, I if they were to offer me, it's not the same. It's not the same experience. I would do. Seinfeld just said it best, and I agree with Seinfeld. He says, I don't want to do nothing until it's completely free as far as
Wow.
restraints because if you go to a club now, 25% capacity. First of all, the money is going to be different. And second of all, the experience is not going to be same for the people that are paying to see you and for yourself. And as much as I love to perform, and I don't care what anybody says, I would rather wait and tough it out until everything clears up. And as far as doing it on Zoom, I understand people have a need, but if they see you doing stuff on Zoom and you're just putting it out there just because you want to be, and I get why you're doing it, you're bored, you want to keep people fresh, keep you fresh in their minds. Now, if I'm somebody that has a show or I want to do something, I want to book you, I'm gonna say, well, you were just on Facebook doing it for free, so why should I pay you?
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, that's what you have to think about. I mean, it's a business, and you have to be smart about it. I didn't make I had a trial and error for me too. I didn't get it right every time the first time.
Well, let's go into that a little bit. What do you think were some of the things you learned that you wished you would have avoided, or what are some smart decisions you made along the way?
Um, well, just the things I avoided was like I was lucky enough to get not be surrounded by the wrong people. I got lucky. I got around great people who took me under their wing. And there's just the pitfalls is some of these club owners, they don't care about who's funny. They'll just pick who they like. And they're not, you know, okay, you may like somebody, but is that the best choice for your audiences or your crowds? So I was a little bit, but I got lucky. Oh, excuse me, I got mentored by Bob Levy, the Reverend Bob Levy, Jeff Parami. I was with Vic DiPotetto for a couple of years on the road. Angel Salazar and me were like the dynamic duo. So I got lucky. Um, I just to me it wasn't. I was fortunate. I mean, I'm not, I'm not Kevin Hart or nothing like that. And I don't purport myself to be. I'm just an average comic that I enjoy what I do.
And on your entertainment website, it says that you're as if they take Sam Kinison and pair him up with Tony Soprano. So can you explain that to me?
Well, I have the edginess of Sam and the Italian side of me growing up in Newark, New Jersey with that, that Italian humor type of thing. So it's like a blend. It's like two very um large impressionable presences mixed in together. I have the when you hear me talk, I don't sound like I'm from Ohio. You could tell I'm either from New York or New Jersey. So and that just plays out. And then my upbringing and growing up in Newark, New Jersey, so that it all blends in well. Um, and I dedicate all my shows. Every time I go on show, I dedicate it to Sam.
Oh,
Yeah,
you really did love
yeah,
him. He was a real inspiration for you.
absolutely, yeah.
Wow. What's the biggest thing that you learned, specific thing you learned from him, other than he was bigger than life and real?
Well,
Like any
he
certain
said be
skill?
he said he taught me be who you are, and he set the bar high for a lot of people. He says don't apologize for nothing. Just put it out there, and that's not, and that doesn't mean to be vulgar and offensive and hurt people. He just was who he was. And he taught me to what you see is what you get, basically.
I love that. I love that. You said that before, but it makes it much clearer. What in the heck? Let's go into your acting. What's it like to be able to share time and stage with Al Pacino and Robert De Niro and Denzel Washington and for
Yeah,
crying out loud?
it's a great experience acting. I had a lot of fun doing it. I just did it as a, because I felt it was the thing to do. I started doing extra work where everybody starts out, and then I got lucky here and there because I have sort of a stereotypical look, as it were. But it wasn't like I was sitting next to them in a director's chair, but I got to experience the being on the set with them, and that was a great thing. Um, Funny story about acting. 2016. Um, Now everybody at the time was doing a lot of independent movies, and I said, you know what? And I wasn't big. I hated that. No offense against nobody for doing it, but I just didn't want to do it. And I said, you know what? You never know. These little movies might blow up to be something big one day. So I saw a post on Facebook. They were looking for people to do a movie called Vendetta Games. That was the name of the movie. They needed a bodyguard for a drug dealer. So okay, obviously. So I go. I get it. And I live in New Jersey, so they were filming in Woodbridge, New Jersey. The kid was out of Staten Island. Now, I had not known that this kid was a nickel and dime. He was just flying by the seat of his pants. So he says, "Okay, we're going to go to Woodbridge." So I get there, and my scene was I had to drive in a car, and I'm chasing another car, and I had to pretend that I'm shooting at the car in front of me. They gave me what they said was a prop gun at the time, and they were going to put the car in after post. There was no car. We were just driving around. There was an idiot in the back with a GoPro camera, and I was just going like this, pretending to shoot. So we shoot the scene. This whole scene takes about 5 minutes to shoot, Linda. And we get back, we're surrounded by cops. 15, 20 cop cars, SWAT team. Somebody must have saw in the neighborhood of Woodbridge that they seen an idiot sticking the gun out the window, pretending to shoot. I wasn't shooting anything. So they call the cops, and I understand. If I saw that, I probably would have did the same thing too. So these cops came in hot and heavy, and this was at the time when the Paris attacks, bombings happened. So everybody was all. So they come, they go, all right. Well, do you? First of all, the guy that was running the film didn't have a permit. He tried to sneak in and do the shoot, so he didn't have a permit. And then they go, "Where's the guy with the gun?" I said, "I'm right here, officer. We're actors. I had it in my waistband." They take it out. It's an airsoft rifle, a pistol, a BB gun. In New
Oh,
Jersey, you might as well have an AK-47. It's an illegal gun. Um, Now let's back up a little bit. My father wasn't always, one of those. He wasn't a blue collar guy. My father wore a pinky ring and ran the neighborhood. So I did things when I before pre comedy that I'm not proud of that caused me that I'm not even supposed to look at a gun. I can't touch a gun. So now I'm committing a felony having this gun on me. I
I
get
got
arrested. I spend 4 days in jail. The movie company would not bail me out. They said they just basically threw me under the bus. Then they tried to pull the bullshit and say I brought the prop gun with me, which I didn't. And I'm just gonna say, and I used this all throughout the whole. This went on for 2 years. This trial. Um, if Robert De Niro shows up to a movie set, he doesn't ask the directors and the whatever did they have their permits. I just went there assuming everything was okay. So long story short, I'm looking at 30 years in prison for shooting an independent movie with no money with a BB gun. It was on 101.5. Bill Spady, everybody in New Jersey was behind me, and I mean, the long and the short of it is I got probation, but I mean, like the ridiculousness of this, and it cost me all kinds of money. Um, and for a while, it was damaging because now everybody thinks I'm Al Capone because they tried to bring my father's past into it and saying he's following in his footsteps. I have like, what are you talking about? Like, so I got over it, but it did hurt me a little bit. But the people who truly know me know the real deal. So that's all that matters. If you could think what you want.
Yes. I know my dad taught us kids how to lie, cheat, and steal because that's how he survived the Holocaust. And it became pathological. So it wasn't until I was in my late teens, early 20s that I stopped bad behavior. And so I can imagine if I got caught with anything, I'm sure that they would wonder if I was reverting to my old ways.
Yeah, it's guilt by association, I guess.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, I did stupid things with it, when I was a kid, but nothing like major. But they just they were looking for a scapegoat. But luckily, I got out of it. But that was just the irony of it. Like, there's all kinds of people doing harm to this country and this. I mean, even back then, and you want to bust my balls over a BB gun? It's a toy. It's basically a toy. I mean, I
Yeah,
had one when I was 6 years old in the backyard.
exactly. So that when you were talking on the website about roadblocks and hardships, that's probably one of the biggest roadblock hardship that you've overcome, I would think.
Yeah. And then when my father passed away, I had to sort of take up the mantle, and I had to leave school because money ran out. So it was, like anything, uh, you pay your dues.
Yes. Well, um, there there's one thing that really caught my eye. You have a toy collection.
Oh yeah,
I want to
that's
hear about this. Not to
I'm.
mention all the collection of memorabilia you have behind you, but a
This is
toy
this is
collection. I
nothing. I
want to hear
have
this.
this is not this is just like for show. I have like maybe 15 to 20 foot lockers full of. I'm just a big kid at heart. I have two wonderful stepsons, Dante and Joseph. My girl Gisela, they're her kids, but they're just like my own. My littlest one, Dante, he's 9 years old and he's my shadow. And even when we go to the store, uh, they get embarrassed of me because I'll be the one to go on the little merry-go-round made for four people, and I shouldn't be on it, and I'll be singing I'm a Toys R Us kid, and I I don't want money for these. I didn't collect them for money, and my girl keeps telling me, oh, why don't you sell them? Why don't you sell them? All right, I could sell them, and then once the money's gone, the memory's gone.
Yeah.
It's just a piece of me that I bring back to a happier time. Like if I can look back there and see like the Fonzie doll, I grew up watching Happy Days, or my Kiss lunchbox, or my John McClane Die Hard doll. I mean, I don't call them dolls. I call them action figures. My girl, she's like, they're dolls. They're not dolls. That's Raggedy Andy is a doll and Barbie is a doll, but they're just pieces of me. And um, I don't know. They're just sentimental things. And when something happens to me, they all go to my son Dante. I said, if you want to sell them, you want to sell them. You want to keep them, you want to keep them. Once I'm gone, I'm not going to know anyway.
Yes. I want to, you started doing radio and I guess it was in 2016, and then you wound up getting picked up by Armed Forces Network. I'm a huge, in the military, I remember how any kind of network where we could get American information overseas, it just made our day, our week, whenever we could get it. And you couldn't always get it in the 70s when I was in. So I
Yeah.
assume it's much more readily available to the troops now.
Well, American Forces Network is a terrific organization. They are a radio and a TV network. It's the only outlet that the soldiers have, servicemen and women around the world. And I got lucky years ago when I started Animal House Radio in 2016. I wanted to do something for our men and women over. I said, how can I reach them? So I found a website, and I got in touch with the guy. He says, we're looking for stuff, but it was kind of, I had to jump through hoops because they didn't accept every submission and you had to be a certain thing. And I just sent him a couple of shows and he liked it. And I wasn't looking to make money on it. If I got advertising after the fact, that's great. Like, I just want to make enough money to run the show. My goal is, though, podcast wise, and I don't see, that's one thing. I don't call it a podcast. It's a radio show. I'm old school. I know podcasting is the new, PC term, but I want to take down Joe Rogan. That's my goal in the next couple of years. I'm going after the top. Why go after I go after the top dog, because even if I fall short a couple of levels, I'll still be near the top. But that is my goal. And that, General Martinez is really big in helping us out. He got us access to all people in Afghanistan, because if you have a serviceman or woman who's in Kentucky or Alabama, they could pretty much communicate with their loved ones. They're not that far away from home. They can call. But if you're in like Kabul or Afghanistan, you can't call home. And for
No.
that hour that you might get downtime or the couple of minutes, and you could listen to our show or watch a TV show on American Forces Network that can bring home to you for at least an hour. To me, it's all worth it.
Do you know, it's making me tear up inside. I feel like I'm bleeding inside of my chest right now. I'm so warm about the feeling. Like, I can just imagine a service member in some godforsaken part of the world, and he gets to feel like some celebrity is right there talking,
Right.
and is there so the troops can hear him.
That's the whole purpose, Linda. I mean, if they can just, because you don't even know where some of them, the bottom can drop out at any minute. They're living minute by minute there. So if I can just make them feel better, and all our celebrities, they step up, and even locally, I do a lot for veterans. This year I really couldn't do it, but last year we took them out to concerts, and we bring them backstage and they get photos, and it's like, they love it. And I got to thank all, like, Foreigner is a big supporter with our show. Larry the Cable Guy, Billy Engvall. Anytime they come to town, Ron White goes, bring all the vets with you, and they just open up to us, and it's really great. And Rick Springfield too.
Wow. You get some of the best people in the world who are so uber famous, and I see them on your show talking to you, and you're so low key. You're like, I'm going to let the stars shine. I'm just the backdrop. And you're so cool about it. I would be like, oh my God, I can't, I'm very
There's no secret,
starstruck.
Linda. I'm just an average guy. I'm not. I don't. You know what I'm saying? I don't. I'm not better than nobody else. I get them on. I start out with one. And then, see, the whole thing is publicists, and they're worse than loan sharks. Publicists, they are ruthless, and that's their job to be. They're protective of their client. Um, so you're getting good with one publicist, all right, and they like you, and then they'll say, "Oh, would you do this guy?" And then it starts to spin off, and then you get another guy. And one thing I noticed, that, and though I will pat myself on the back, the publicist will say, "You got 15 minutes, right?" And they try to keep it strict. Meanwhile, the guest is on with us for 45 minutes. They're having so much fun. They're like, "No, I'll keep it." Even Ralph Macchio, when we had him on, he's like, "Don't worry about it. Keep going. This is the easiest decision of the day for me to hang out with you guys." And that's the secret. So then they have fun, and they'll keep coming back to me. And then you meet another publicist, and they taking a liking to you, and then they see that you're not. I'm not about ambushing nobody. And we already have a Howard Stern. I don't want to do that. Maybe down the road when I'm bringing it in for a landing, I could start zinging people. But right now, I don't want to burn a bridge. I want to just, you know what I'm saying?
Yes. So when the thing is that your style is so smooth, and I've been thinking, because I would really like to see Sinbad on your show. Have you had any strides getting to him?
No, I just, you know what? I pride myself on getting around, because I have a lot of connections. And
Yes.
I haven't really pursued. I think if I pursue it, I could probably try, but I haven't had no luck under the normal circumstances. But I could try. But the whole secret for me is I don't make them think they're in an interview. I make them think we're just having a conversation between two people. Make them feel at home, like we're having coffee and just talking. Um, you know, like I say, I stay away from the heated topics. I try to build them up, and once they know that, their troops are going to hear it, they're like putty in my hand. So that's a little secret. It's a weapon I use, but I don't use it as a weapon. I use it as an enticement. But they have a good time, and that's the whole key.
Yes, yes. Thank you so much for doing what you're doing that helps the troops. I can't tell you how much it warms my heart.
I want
Um,
to do more. I just wish I could do more.
yes.
So it's like I said, I'm trying to go globally. I mean, we're pretty much there now, but like I said, I want to get to where I want to have both a military audience and a non-military audience.
Well, do you care if I tell Sinbad that he should consider going on your show because
Oh,
of
I
the
would love
viewers?
it. Yeah, absolutely.
Because I
Do it.
shied away from doing that. So many people hit me up, but I think that your show is something so special that
I
he's,
appreciate that. I
I
like
will,
what
I
you're
will
doing
tell.
too. Yeah,
Thank
you
you.
know.
Yeah, you're the only person I'll make an exception and go to Sinbad and go to
As
bat for.
long as you're
Tell,
okay with it, Linda, I don't want you to do nothing that you don't feel right about doing, honestly.
no, I'll
You
do
know.
it. I'll do it.
And that's, a lot of people have been, doing that. They see and they want to inbox me and ask me, "Well, how did you get this one and that one?" And I say, I said, "Listen, thank you for praising my work, but I did the legwork. Now you got to do it." You
That's
know what I'm
right.
saying?
Yes. I
Because
know
I don't
people,
want to
people always
refer
ask.
somebody and then they go over there and then they're going to say, "Well, oh, this guy sent them over." I'm not saying nobody's better or worse than me. But I just, very rarely I will say, "Hey, look," but because I don't want to cause a problem. I had to go do the legwork. I had one kid get mad at me because I wouldn't give him a contact information for Stone Cold Steve Austin. I says I didn't want to insult the guy, but I didn't know what. I just said, look, I gave him a formula, a basic formula of what I use, and I said, try that. Well, I don't know what else to tell you, and I don't want to come off as a dick. Excuse my expression, but you know what I'm saying.
Yes. Well, there's a lot of people that have asked me, and I even told him that people hit me up like you wouldn't believe. So he knows that I've never once broken trust and sent anyone to him, but I'll go on your behalf to ask him to contact you.
Yeah, I mean, that means the world to me, and I appreciate that you think enough of me to do that. And
I
believe
do.
me, I will always be grateful for that. And now you have a chip in the big game now. So
No.
you know what I'm saying. So that means that I'm gonna owe you one.
Oh, thanks. I wasn't doing it for that. I was doing
No,
it
I
'cause
know you weren't. That's
what
why
you
I'm.
do
That's
for
why I
the,
said that because I know that wasn't your motive.
yeah. He's an Army veteran.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. And
We
Bobby
have a
Rydell was in the Army too.
Yeah, we have a lot of people that were like what we just did Jamie Farr from MASH, and that was so much fun.
Yeah.
He's had so many fun stories. We had Loretta Swit on. She's a very nice person, but she's a little coarse. And this was our second time with her, and I thought maybe she might have mellowed out, but I don't think so. But it turned out well. And Jamie Farr had great stories. I had General Martinez on the show. He's sort of like my unofficial co-host, and so he's having a ball because we're introduced, for a guy who was a three-star general in the Air Force. What can you possibly do to make up for his service? It would take me years. So having him come on when we had Brad Garrett on from Everybody Loves Raymond. He went totally nuts because Brad has the club out in Las Vegas, and he invited us. He goes, once this all breaks down, you guys all come out. Anytime you want to do a spot, you can come out. And General Martinez was happier, so happy about it. And if I could do that for each, even if it's, how like people say they can help people person at a time. If I can touch the lives of a veteran, because people don't realize what these people go through, the sacrifices. They may think they know, but they'll never truly know. And just saying thank you for your service doesn't even begin to cover it. And that's
Exactly.
just my opinion. It doesn't, it's
No,
not set in stone, but that's just how I feel.
well, so many veterans, gave so much of their lives, and then they hear, you know, too little, too late is what they're probably thinking, and thanks, like I wish I'd have felt that when I came back to America from Vietnam, but thanks.
Right, right. And
So we
and that
can't.
goes to first responders too, and these essential workers. I have a young man who he lives in England. His name is Robert McCullough. He's a huge fan of the show. He's on every episode we do. He's right there, compliment. He's such a sweetheart of a guy. He works in a hospital in I forgot what part of the UK he's in. And Linda, let me tell you something. He's up to his chest in COVID patients. He has to clean up after him. He has to be exposed to them. And every chance I get, whoever guest that I have come on, I introduce them, because this isn't just for veterans. This my show isn't just for military. It's for everybody that wants to just you know what it is. It's a Calgon moment for 2 hours a week. It's 2 hours a week, no kids, no mortgage, no bills, no aggravation. Just come and relax for 2 hours. See somebody that you might have grew up with, a movie star, a TV star, a rock star, a sports figure. And so what I do for Robert is any celebrities that I have come on, I have them send him photos to him and thank you. And he's over the moon. I had him. He loves Diane Franklin from the '80s, from Fast Times at Ridgemont High. Oh no, Last American Virgin, and she sent him a signed photo, and he was jumping for joy. And it just just that he has to clean up after the COVID patients, and he had it himself, and thank God he's better. But I'm just saying what he does over there is just and he's like an unsung hero.
With this whole COVID thing, like I'm about to the point where I think Walmart greeters are, heroes.
Yeah, I wasn't really scared. I'm not gonna let no. And you know what? Me and Larry, the cable guy, are very close, and I spoke to him a couple months ago because he's got a new CD out called "Remain Seated." And he says the same thing. I'm gonna follow the laws, but I'm not gonna stop myself from living my life. I'm gonna obey the laws, and I agree with him. I when we were quarantined, I listened, but when I went out, I wore a mask. I did what I had to do, but I'm not gonna stop living. I wasn't in fear. I carried wipes everywhere I went. And there's no reason why I know nobody wants to wear masks. Nobody wants to wear them, but if, if if you don't want to wear a mask, that tells me that you don't care about yourself. Never mind other people. You know what I'm saying? I know it's anxiety ridden, but don't you want to live longer? And maybe if you have kids, do you want to see them? You want them to see you like shriveling away in a hospital bed? Just do what you got to do. And if you can't wear the mask, then you limit your exposure. But don't stop living. And it seems simple, but it is. It maybe it isn't. Louis Gossett Jr. said something so simple, and he said, "There's no secret to save this country. There's no secret for him. It's going to take mankind to save mankind. That's it.
Wow, that's it.
That's what he said, and I believe it. There's no secret formula. There's no politician that's going to save us. The Avengers don't exist. That's the movies.
Yes.
We have come together as a country. We have done it. And I think we need to do, although it took this nasty pandemic to bring people together, I've seen a lot of positive things come out of it, out of a negative. So, it's a shame people had to lose their lives over it. It's horrible. Nobody was prepared for this. So
Mhm.
that's why I don't put the blame on nobody. It was something that we got blindsided by. So what are you supposed to do? You do the best you can.
Absolute. That's so true. In closing here, I don't want to keep you all day, but I'd like to give you the floor to say, plug anything, tell people anything I didn't drag out of you that you want them to know, or your plans. I know you want to take down Joe Rogan, and I hope you do, because I think you've got a better message than he does.
Well, Joe is Joe. He's his own brand, and you know, um, I am, and not to be smug about it, I'm surprised I'm not further along than I really am, because everybody I talk to says they enjoy the show. So I just need to get it out there more. So for everybody that's listening, for this lovely young lady Linda, who has a great show too, and I think she's on her way up, both comedy and doing. I hope you stick with this after the pandemic, Linda. I think you know. Um, it's
Thank you.
Animal House Radio. We're on Facebook. You can like our page, follow us. And we also are, it's not just a regular radio show. We also have a full-fledged internet radio station, animalhouseradio.net. If you're an unsigned artist and you're looking for exposure, we're primarily the rock genre. So if you know anybody that has a band, we'll take some pop, we'll take some alternative music. You can have them send it to us. Um, just look us up on Facebook. And as always, it's not easy, and I know everybody, if anybody wants to donate to the station, it's we have a PayPal. It's radioanimals416 at gmail.com, just to keep the
Radio
station
Animals 416 at Gmail.
at gmail.com. If you want to make a donation, that's always greatly appreciated. Even if a dollar, $5, I'm not looking for thousands of dollars, just something to keep the lights on. Yeah. So but I just want to put out feel good, uplifting content right now, and make sure to let everybody know that even though we're stuck inside, you have an outlet, you have a little bit of a respite. You can come and watch the show or listen to our interviews, and hopefully that'll make your day a lot better.
Yes. I know that you and I are both mutual friends with Steve Marshall in New York, and he does 2 or 3 different shows during the week, and I'm addicted to them, and I'm addicted to Animal House Radio. If I turn it on, I can scrub the whole house while you're on and not miss a beat of what you're saying, what your guests are saying, or I can sit there and stare at it. It doesn't demand my full attention, and I love that.
Oh,
You know,
that's
it doesn't.
that's that's exactly the response that we were trying to elicit. You know what I'm saying? You don't have to stop. I mean, if you want to sit in front of your computer and watch, that's fine. But you can clean the house and do whatever you got to do and still enjoy it. You know what I'm saying? It's like, instead of listening to music, you're just listening to us.
Yes, you've gotten some of the best information out of people when you've interviewed them. And I personally thank you for being a strong example of a really good interviewer. You're not over the top, you're not schmaltzy, you're not going for jokes like I used to. You're just about the interview.
Right.
Most people wouldn't even know you're a comedian if they tuned in for the first time.
Yeah, I tend to be a little, I try to be funny, but I try to be professional. I don't want, because my whole shtick with the podcast thing is, because when you think of a podcast, you think of a bunch of guys in a basement on microphones cursing. I don't want that mystique. I want it to be professional. I think now podcasting has evolved so people don't think like that anymore. But I still call it a radio show. But I mean, whatever, you can call it whatever you want, as long as you're listening. I don't care what you call it.
I'll call it a radio show.
Yeah. But thank you for and I apologize that we took so long to get this together. I just, shit happens, Linda.
Me too. I got my problems too with follow through. So thank you so much, Carlo Bellario from
Thank
Animal
you.
House Radio. And I'll
Thank you so
post your links on here and my afterthoughts.
All right. Thank you so much, Linda.
Thank you so very much. And I'll get to Sinbad for you.
All right. Yes, I'm looking forward to that.
I hope he follows through.
Stay safe, and I'm going to be out to Vegas soon. I'll let you know.
Yes, please do.
I will.
I'll come
Have a
out and
good
see
night.
you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.